I'm Brenda.
And I'm Kristi. We're two friends from high school who are connecting and reconnecting over music and memories.
Welcome to Normal Bias Podcast.
We're glad you're here.
Welcome back to Normal Bias Podcast. What's going on, Normal Biasers? It's Brenda and Kristi and our very special guest. He's not the boss of me, but he is the boss of her. It's James Pharaon. Welcome back, James Pharaon.
Well, thank you. It's great to be invited back on this very special 200th episode.
Yes. It's a three-peat for you.
That's right.
Yes. Welcome back, James. So, you guys, we have invited James back for a third time because this is our Friday episode and today is Boss's Day. Yay! Yay, James!
I hear the Muppets in my head, the background where they go, yay! Remember that Muppet movie?
Oh, yeah. Kermit the Frog goes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's what I'm hearing in my head, that and the air conditioner.
Can we turn that on?
No, because then it'll get hot. So that's it. We're recording in the studio. This is where
all the magic happens. This is where all the magic happens. Well, most of the magic happens. Some of the magic happens out in the world.
Yes.
What did you think I was going to say? Sicko.
So
sometimes the magic does happen in here. You know, it is what it is.
Yes. So
right. Sometimes we have photo shoots in here. That's right.
I just got a vision of George Costanza on a couch. I don't know, Photoshop or photo sessions in the studio. What?
We can make that happen. You know what? You're probably the only person who's petite enough
has
to lay on our couch. Like we wouldn't actually fit, but you would. Oh my gosh! You know what? We'll start putting you out in the studio.
Yeah, you don't need a bed at our house. You just
have my own little apartment. That'd be so great. The longest Simon can come with me. Yes.
We have a Simon colored couch, so that's
yes,
perfect.
you do. Oh, I just love that boy. He's a cat, by the way.
He misses you. He was sitting like this morning on my laptop while we were downloading all the things for today's episode. He was sitting there like laying on my laptop and we were laughing because he was like clearly waiting for the new episode. He wanted to see you sitting in your bathroom.
He couldn't wait. Oh, love him.
You're going to come home one day and there's going to be a Simon in your house and your boys are going to be like, when do we get a cat?
When do we get a cat? Oh, man. Okay, y'all, if you have been playing along, i.e. Martha and Stephanie, hey y'all, hey girls.
Hey,
we touched briefly on the fact that Kristi is an employee. I mean, I guess he's your boss. You call him your boss. James Pharaon, creative. James is a photographer, videographer, creative. And Kristi works for James and with James. So they're partners. I learned, and I don't remember, James had a two part episode, but you guys also kind of began your relationship-ish working at Sam Houston together in some capacity. So you've done this before. Now you have your own business and Kristi is working with you for you. But also just want to recognize a little bit, Kristi is her own boss in her own right. She has a lady boss. She has her own business.
Whenever you say lady boss, I don't know. It just it makes me think of like pink razors and like.
I was thinking about lady chic or something like that.
Like I think about like razors.
That's what made me
whenever
think
you say
of.
lady boss, I'm like.
That's just like you. Okay. She's her own boss. There you go. How's that? She's her own boss in her own right. So I just wanted to recognize
she has a whole division of the company that's just hers.
That's just her.
Small Town Social. That's Kristi.
That sounds so fancy when you say my own division.
Yeah, you have a whole wing.
I do. I have
that's
a whole
the wing right there.
That's Small Town Social. And also our associate, the iPhone.
Yes, man. So yes. So you are your own boss in your own right. But today she wanted to spotlight James and his business and your working relationship. So what do you have anything to say about it? Like, how do you want to start this? And I have some questions myself, but
So it's funny. So we've kind of, I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but I feel like I'm going to go ahead and just say it. I know that I've been called to be here, to work with James, to work for James, to be with our family, to be at home. And so, it's, I don't want to say it's countercultural. I don't want to make it sound cool, but it's where I'm supposed to be. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not.
Well, I think it is countercultural because you and girls have been told, well, you need to go and do big things and be out in the world, in the workplace, and you need to be like
Bring home the bacon.
Yeah, you need
all
to
the things.
Yeah, all the first wave feminist stuff. But
and I have done that. I had a successful consulting business for a long time. But I am in a season, and I have been for the past few years, where I know that this is my focus, being here. And in 2018, James left his desk job, so what we did at 45, we thought was our plan for 55. And we got to a tipping point where it was like, James could have stayed in his desk job, and we could have, fully funded the retirement and done all the things and not struggled to pay for college. But we made a choice to have him come and start doing this full time instead of just on the side. And at the time, I had a job that was just looked like it was, the trajectory was, to the moon. So that made it a little bit easier for us to be brave for him to get out of his desk job and come to this full time. But so he did that at the beginning of April. And then literally 2 days after he came home, something happened with my fantastic job. And I was like, oh, oops, this isn't really going to work out, baby. And then 2 months later, I was basically fired. So, so anyway, but we're 2 years later.
So we lost a lot of weight. We lived under a bridge for.
We did lose weight, but
we did lose weight. It wasn't because of that, though. Yeah.
But so anyway, so here we are 2 years later, and we adjusted to working together. And then a year ago, we put words to Small Town Social. Instead of just saying Kristi does social media, we defined who it is that we want to serve and how we want to serve them. And that's been like another step that we took. And then this summer, I took a part-time job outside of the house to help a friend, and it was a very confusing thing. But I've recently I'm just a week away from that. But to be here for the past couple of weeks has been like, James every day is like, how was your day? It's like, my day was great. Like I right now I have to learn how to be disciplined to sit myself. We're actually sitting at my work desk. So if we were to turn this computer around, you would see that's James's desk and stuff over there. And then this is the editor's desk. So this is where I've been sitting for several hours a day, editing video, helping him culling photographs.
Yeah. Culling through photos. Yeah.
Super good with the lingo. But it's been great to be here and to not be divided between the things that I need to accomplish here, the things that I have, in quitting the part-time job, I also let go of a social media client that took up a lot of bandwidth. And so that has been really freeing. I was trying to explain to Brenda yesterday, when you do someone's social media, they're always with you. And depending on what kind of client they are or what kind of content it is, like you just carry them always. You're always thinking about content and stuff. And so to be free of that and be free of being obligated to be physically someplace else for several hours a week has been really great. So,
it's been awesome to have her here in the studio working. Part of that was out of necessity. Some of the stuff she was working on, we couldn't do. She couldn't do it over Wi-Fi in the house. She actually physically had to be connected to the hard drive where this video was stored. And it's been nice having her out in the studio. It's been it's been fun, looking across the desk and seeing her over there working, and it feels
Probably with my mouth open, mouth breathing. Because that's what I feel like today. I was like, close your mouth, Kenny. Like, I think I really sit and work with my mouth open. It's like I'm putting on mascara all day long. Today I was going through photos and straightening them, and which is a challenge when you live your life with your head cocked to one side. Like for me to make things straight, I mean, it requires a bit of technological assistance.
To be fair, though, if I would learn how to take straight photos, you wouldn't have to spend so much time doing that.
Well, of the 900 I did today, 4 of them were super straight.
There you go.
So, but it's been cool too for me because this is something.
If I would drink less before a photo shoot, I might take straight photos.
I was like, that would be more funny if you weren't drinking right now.
Right.
So, yes, it's been a big day. Casey took her SAT today, so we celebrated with Pepsi's and Sonic.
Goodness. Yay.
Has Alex taken his yet?
He has already. He's taken it twice already. And I think he talked about taking it again, but I think he's nixed that idea, but I think he still has plans to take the ACT.
So we've had a hard time getting Casey to like,
sure.
They keep canceling the test. So, and this has been an ongoing thing since March.
Wow.
So, or April. But anyway, so it's been a big day here. And then James.
That is a big day. How did Noble's game go yesterday?
B team killed it. They were.
It was like 37-0.
Mm-hmm. And he.
Whoa.
Actually, Brenda, every play, the boy had his hands on the kid that he was blocking. Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't lose him, but he tried.
I saw a couple of blocks thrown by the boy, so that's good. That he's
love it.
It was
love. Good. Awesome.
It was
love
good.
that.
So it's been a really fun. Just the past couple of weeks have felt really good. We kind of have come through a season with some turmoil, with some other things, and the past couple of weeks have just felt good. And it's been good. It's been good to be here and to be doing work that normally we have a team that does a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now, but we're very blessed right now that we have enough work that we can't wait until the team is available. Like we need someone here during the day doing it, which is it's a cool place to be.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it feels good.
So, I mean, and I love you guys because I see, I've known you for some time now. I see, yes, you guys are good friends. I like that you're able to be honest with each other and say, look, this or that is how I'm feeling, or, I like to see you guys work those things out. So what I'm curious and I, like to talk about, and so our listeners will, talk about this a little bit, is that, so you're married, right? You work together every day. So two things, when you leave the studio, say when James Pharaon Creative, it's 5:00, the horn blows and you go into the house. Do you guys leave it
just
there?
Like the end of the Flintstones.
Yes.
I ride down the dinosaur.
So that is, boundaries is a hard thing. And especially like it's something that I have really had to work on being in social media, because social media is 24/7.
Right.
And we kind of had a come to Jesus about it. I think last year he was like, you have to unplug. Like you have to, because I was always, if not posting, commenting, it felt like I always had a phone in my hand. And he's like, you have to unplug. Like because there's a million ways to manage social media, so it doesn't manage you. And that was really helpful. And then, but we are in a busy season, and it's a busy season for the kids. And so the busier we get, the harder it is to turn it off, because and so I will get grumpy if he brings up a work thing after like 8:00. Like once I'm in my pajamas, don't talk to me about work, and don't talk to me about work. He also has a habit of when we start our quiet time in the morning, I
wake up ready to go. Like my mind's been going all night, so I wake up ready to talk. I'm like, got all these things in my head, but She
I need
needs
coffee,
time. Yes, coffee and
Jesus.
like 3 hours of quiet time and journaling.
I wish. But I'm like, I really am like, do not talk about work to me until I have at least like read the Bible, and then we can talk about it. But I really don't want to talk about it. We sort of have a rule when we walk the dogs. Like we go with Ted Noble, we go to the gym, then we come home and have breakfast and walk the dogs. When we walk the dogs, we'll start talking about work on our walk. Or James is always really good about asking, what are you most looking forward to today? And then, at the end of
Aw,
the
I love
day,
that.
yeah, he's awesome at that.
I
And then,
learned it from her.
yeah.
I love that she asks everybody that. And at the end of the day, she'll ask, what was the best part of your day? And I love
do.
that. So when I remember,
You've been good about it though.
I love that. I really do. And I love that you give her props. Kristi, I really love, and you talk about boundaries, but it's also discipline. Like you truly take your morning time with Jesus and your coffee and you commit, or you're committed to that. And I really admire that. And I goal seek to do that, because you are very disciplined and you take that time, and you need to do that. And I wish I would had that,
Well,
just
the
make
flip
that choice to
side,
do that.
yeah, and I hear you. It's not really it's not like, oh, I'm so good I do this. Why do I like what happens when I don't have quiet time? I'm grumpy.
Yeah, she gets grumpy.
Yeah, and I need that time. So often when I read in the morning, whether it's in whatever the Bible reading I'm doing, or we read devotionals together, he reads them, and it feels so often between that and then the Rachel Macy Stafford book that I read every morning, The Only Love Today. There's always something that I need for that day, or there's something that kind of calls out something that happened the day before. I mean, every day we're like, hey, that's perfect. Or, so, and I need that. I need to be reminded of, every day to start in the truth. And because when I don't, and when I don't start my day focused on love and being loved, then I'm not loving or respectful. And that, that just goes south.
Well, and I think that comes from the ultimate boss, God. It's his plan, and it's nice to have that focus and get that in that, you know
Yeah.
in that state of mind. I do love your self-awareness too. You talk about being grumpy, and your family allows for that. Like I said, you guys really are honest with each other and let each other be you. So my other thing I wanted to talk about is, you're married, you work together, and then in March, COVID, because before you had some freedoms, James, you go off to a shoot, or, Kristi, you both have your things that you had freedoms to leave, to not be together all of the time in your job and in your married life. But then COVID, like we were forced to be at home all day, all of the time. How did that impact your boss employee, your working relationship? Did it?
Yeah. So it was actually a low point. So we, up until I would say from May of 2019 to the last week of February of 2020, I had a full roster of social media clients, and not just social media clients, but I was doing a lot of video production, a lot of filming one client, editing, uploading it, and then another client would send me raw video that I would edit. So my job was, we operated very separately for for really a full calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten out of a lot of the assistant work for him with booking shoots and things like that. He was kind of back to operating the way he did prior to me coming to work for him. And I was just doing my own thing with my clients. And we were both okay with that. But then when COVID hit a week, 2 weeks after one of my bigger clients that I knew was a temporary situation. We parted ways at the end of February. And it was like, oh, cool. So, and I had other things lined up that I was going to do. And then, of course, it didn't come through. So, what happened was we went from working totally separately to he was the only one. Like, I still had work, but I had a lot less work. And I certainly didn't have work outside of the house. We just, when Casey got back from Ireland, we shut it down and we stayed home. And James was the first, like, he still had real estate shoots, so he would go out. But COVID, we, you and I reconnected, Brenda, towards the end of April, and James and I were still like, we were just kind of coming out of a big slump, because what happened was we weren't communicating about the business. Like, we were just bare minimum communicating about billing and real top level.
Because we had been so separate for so long
Mm-hmm.
that, we were just continuing with that.
And we were scared. I just,
in March and beginning of April, we had no idea if we would have any work at all, because
right, because you're not
I did freelance work in Houston back in the early 2000s, before we moved to Brenham, and I got the job here, and there was a recession then, and I found out then that the very first thing that gets cut out when times get tough is creative work, and and people move stuff in house, they just make do, or they just don't do it, and so I just assumed that that's what the pandemic was going to be, that everything was going to be shut down, and so we just took on whatever work we could get, in the hopes that it would keep us going for a little while until things shut down. We just kept waiting for it to shut down, and luckily it never, as far as creative work goes, it never really quite shut down. It affected senior portrait sessions, and families,
but not like commercial and real estate.
No.
But I will say one thing too. We had been so separate for so long. Like, we didn't work out together anymore. Like, we were doing good to walk the dogs together or have a meal as a family. So we went from a season of things feeling crazy to being homebound with all four of us. And you have in our family, you know, Brenda, you've seen it yourself. There's two of us who were super scheduled, super like at 8:02, then we do this, at 4:06, then we do this, and then we have two that are like, what day is it? Huh? So
those are my people.
yeah, and that you fit in great here, because you go back and forth between all of us. But so we had, like, it was this big collision of business stuff, and then, you know, like, we really needed to tighten our belts with our expenses, and, you know, in preparation for what might come, and there was a lot of stress. And so you know, and then there was, you know, our morning workouts as a family, and there was us trying to impose a schedule, and it felt disrespectful to him because he's, you know, he is the boss. And so it was just there was a lot.
There was a lot of difficulty in that. We didn't have any place to be because the kids weren't in school, and so it felt a lot like summer vacation.
But you still had work.
I still had work, and also I know this about myself. I know I work better in the early part of the day, and so with walking the dogs and breakfast, and we were getting up later, and and then we all go out and work out, and then we'd have, I don't even, a bunch of different stuff. Like, it was kind of creeping into the day, and it was all of a sudden it was 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and I still hadn't gotten to work, and I was getting really, really anxious, because, like, I was like, okay, the day is half gone now,
Right.
and I still had work to do. So it was that was a hard part. But then we had a big family meeting, and we kind of talked about my needs versus the family needs, and we got a schedule that worked pretty much for everybody, and that kind of carried us through the summer.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So in the middle of all of that, we had a new client come on board who needed, from the onset, needed James to come up with a marketing with
a logo, the branding guide, all of those things. And
All
then,
this stuff.
so we sat through, we met with them and went through all that. And then I used that and built a website. And so that was the first time that we had collaborated on a start to finish project like that in quite a while. And it was very intense. And it was very like in the middle of all of the, you know, what time are we going to eat breakfast? How long is our workout going to be? What music are we listening to during workout? Like, so we're kind of duking out all these things. And then he and I are,
carrying that into the day,
kind of bumping up against each other on, well, is the logo finished? Well, do you have the blue one? Well, did you do, you know, like, and so we're constantly like, it was just like a back and forth of like the frustrations that we were feeling really came to work. And that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we talked about tonight is when you work with your spouse or for your spouse, like I have no problem saying that I work for James. His name is on the company, which he's offered to change. And I like James Pharaon Creative.
What is
so
this?
yeah, he's offered several times to change it just to accommodate me or the kids if they want to come on board.
I wanted to change it to James Pharaon and that happy lady creative, but she wouldn't have it.
So that kind of segues into me wanting to then know this. So you're both creatives in your own right. Again,
Everybody is, Brenda.
No, yes, you're right. But do you feel like do your creatives like do you ever collide? Do you ever like are you not on the same page? Do you see something that tell me about that? Tell me about you know.
So we have always, I will say
I'm gonna have another drink while she talks.
We have always
It's your day,
together.
James. It's boss's day. You drink all you want.
And no, when it's actual boss's day, he's gonna be shooting some bajillion-dollar ranch in Kerrville. So no drinking on boss's day. Drink up.
Nice. I love that.
But so we have always worked together really well. And even as student assistants at the university, I could have an idea and say it, and then he would make it, whether it was you know, like we used to collaborate on Homecoming, the theme and the design and everything, and it was always so exciting to work with him and say like, what if we did this? And then he would come back and it would be like better than you thought it could be. And so, and we still have those experiences. And he just today, we have a new client who needed a logo, which is James's domain. And James sent me the logos today and like, once again, like hit it out of the park better than I could have expected. So we work together really well when it comes to those things. Where I don't know if it's creativity or what, where we clash,
yes, that's the word,
is like I'm trying to think, because it's just, was it today or yesterday? Like he'll get kind of on a roll with his jokes or whatever, and he'll try, like everything I say, he has a snappy comeback. And yesterday
That's because I'm a very snappy, funny person, and she, you know,
I'm the funny one.
I feel like you're both very funny.
Oh, Brenda, it's okay. You don't have. It's okay. We're not.
You don't have to be nice to her, Brenda.
You're not Chandler
right.
with your divorced parents here. It's okay. You don't have to dance. I'm the funny one. I'm the funny one.
Really?
So that's where we kind of like I don't think we clash creatively. I think we clash personality wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we both have a tendency to want to not be in charge, but have our way and have our say, and that be the last word. But that's not how things work. And so that's been, I think, one of the biggest struggles is that when our ideas don't quite mesh up, that it's a struggle sometimes, because that, managing those expectations of,
right.
Who's actually driving this?
And I think too, that kind of leads into, I am very wordy. I have a lot of words, but when it comes to
we know
this is true. But when it comes to work stuff, James is either a man of few words, or he will talk in a circle and come back around and agree with you, but it feels like he kicked you. And then he's like, "What? I'm agreeing with you," and you're like, "But like I lost track." I mean,
Part of that is the way that I think. Is I think in pictures, and she thinks in words and concepts, and so a lot of it has to do with the way we think. So I tend to ask a lot of when I'm talking in circles. I'm over communicating, trying to paint that picture in my mind so that I know I have it. But to her, she's like, yes, already, for crying out loud. We just talked about that. But I'm like asking like a subtle difference of the same question just to see, if it's just to see it, I'm basically trying to fine tune an idea.
I think you're doing it now. But and so like you're at work, I'll ask him.
He's doing it now, or you're doing it now? I love y'all so much.
I'll ask him a yes/no question, and he'll respond with something like, "But the sky was so blue." And he tells a story, and I'm like, "Jess."
So she'll ask me a yes or no question about something that's not a yes or no.
You can't handle the truth.
She asked me a yes or no question about something that makes no sense with a yes or no answer. So I have to like unpack things a little bit.
You
have to. Okay. So talk to the people about who have a boss, who they're the employee, they have a boss that they don't have a relationship with. I mean, they've been working together a while, but how, it's hard when it's the surface stuff. You see these people 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, you work, you go home. And, those days that you bump heads, you go home. How would you, then resentment gets built up where you guys are married. You have to work out these things and you know each other really well. Any advice to people who are out in the work world who have a boss employee relationship? Any suggestions on how to be able to communicate feelings or when you bump heads?
Yeah, and I actually, one of the things I'm working on very slowly is I'm writing a leadership series for a small town about like one of the things that we learned early on. We both had extensive leadership training, and I don't.
Does your air conditioner just kick on? Every now and then I hear it sounds
it
like
does. It gets a little bit loud. So we one of the things that we have talked about since day one, I have been blessed to work with some great people through different, at the university, at different campuses with different organizations, and what they had in common was they were good leaders. But we've also both worked with or both worked for people who wanted to be bosses. And there's a big difference between a boss and a leader. A leader understands relationships, which is something that we're all about. And so my advice to you, if you have someone who's a boss and not a leader, is first of all to show them respect, like really overtly, like show them respect, submit to them, and it will help theoretically soften them. Because you can't demand that somebody respect you. You can only control what you do. But if you're disrespectful to someone who's in that boss mindset of there's not enough, like the scarcity, like there's not enough power to go around here, you don't want to be in a power struggle with your supervisor. So
yeah, you'll lose.
Yeah, but like the most uncreative people will find creative ways to make you suffer. So
write that down. That's a tweetable moment.
Well, you're the tweeter.
I'm the tweeter. I need to tweet that. What about you, James? Anything to add to that?
Kristi said it really well. We, like she said, we have both been blessed to work for people who were not good leaders. And so, that was a lot of learning, but to answer your question, I mean, you do get crossways with your fellow employees too. I mean, I worked in a cube for 14 years.
Cubicle for all you two educators who were listening.
Oh,
So
right.
cubicle, excuse me. I worked in a cubicle.
Our two listeners, they're both in education.
Oh, okay. I worked in a cubicle at a desk for 14 years, and it was not uncommon for me to get crossways with my fellow cube dwellers every now and then. And a lot of times it was self-inflicted. It was because why couldn't they understand what a genius I am? And so, but after a while, we had to find a way to work through that.
So that makes me think about one of the personalities that you worked with specifically in that job. So this is a life lesson, kids. Ready? This is not, I don't have an original way of saying this, but you see what you're looking for. So think about like on campus, Brenda, when there's a teacher that people perceive to be whatever, snappy, snippy, snooty, whatever. When
slutty. What?
Okay.
So I met many teachers. Don't tell me.
So like when you think that a teacher's slutty, then when you look at
You
her,
tell them
you're
that.
just looking for things that prove that
You
she's
put it on
slutty.
Facebook.
So we're going to move away from the slutty, but you find what you're looking for. And it's the same thing, whether it's your boss or a coworker or whatever. So if you're looking for them to prove to you that they're a jerk or whatever, they will.
Yeah.
If you're looking for, but if you tweak that and you look for ways, every day I have to come to work and I have to look for things that are positive about this guy. It's hard, but I do it and it helps me get through the day.
So
What's up with this?
So another thing that is a big influence on you is.
I thought you were going off French or something. I was like,
influence.
Whoa.
If you want to be influential, that was Cajun.
Was it?
I don't.
Well, French Cajun. How's that?
French Cajun. Yes. We work in the best bayous in Louisiana. Yes. Okay.
I think you should be like twirling your mustache when you use that.
Right. But I think the key for me, and I think COVID taught me this,
I
was
wasn't done with my lesson.
oh well you
No, go ahead. You
go ahead. I thought you were finished.
You ruined it. Go ahead. COVID. Go ahead.
No.
I'll come back around.
I seriously thought you're finished because there was a long pause.
Well, I did a little impression, and so usually the joke is the end of what I was saying that was, inspirational.
Should I edit this part out? I mean, like, are we still rolling here?
We're still rolling.
We're still rolling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Let's flip
Inspire me.
Brenda.
James, please. You crack me up. Okay. No, I just wanted to say that being away from abruptly being sheltered at home away from the people I work, I realized how much time I spend with them, right? Because all of a sudden I was with my family and we just don't spend we spend the most of our days away. Okay.
In a lot of cases, you spend most of your time with those people, more time than with your family.
Absolutely. And so because you guys are married and live together, Kristi sleeps with her boss.
But I always have, so it's really no.
Yeah.
There were a few years when it was awkward, but
I realized one, those people are truly important to me, and that I really like them, and so it became important to me to start now when I was able to come back, to work on relationships with them, connecting and really seeing them, because we get so busy. We're always doing things, and we leave and we go home to our families and then we come back. And then, so relationship like that has really been something that I've really trying to work on since I've come back. So I think that you guys, you have both of those things. You have the time together, but you also have the relationship. And I love that.
Yeah, part of that is that we try not to bring work stuff,
Mm-hmm.
into personal time and vice versa. That was really hard at the very beginning, um, was because we've been married for 22 years. 2 years. I mean, that was 2 years ago. So, 20 years at the time. And so I had just come off of a business environment where I was a manager, and
He was a manager.
I was a manager,
You're
but
the manager.
but where I worked, they expected you to act a very certain way when you're a manager.
Be a manager. See, he
Yeah,
won't. I made him uncross his arms when we started recording, and now he won't cross them again. He's making a point.
I was watching that this time because I remember that
Yeah,
conversation.
this is a very natural state for me.
I feel like it is.
This is not contrary to what body language experts said. This is not me being closed off. This is actually me, very relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I would come home 2 years ago when we first started working together. I would use my business voice, I was all business, and I would use my business persona. Well, apparently that's the same voice and tone that I use at home when I'm grumpy with Kristi. And so I would be very matter of fact. I'd say something like, call this client back, and she'd be like, "What is wrong? What, why? Why are you being that way?"
This is the stuff I want to hear.
This is so.
There was a lot of duking it out over tone of voice on both sides, because I can be disrespectful, I can be snippy, but he can just be a jerk. I mean, a manager, a boss.
Can you say a-hole on this podcast?
You can say a-hole.
Well, you just did. You just said it.
You can't say the other one, because then I would have to click explicit, and I'm too lazy for that.
Okay, yeah, she can be an a-hole. That's what I'm trying to get at.
You say she can be, or I can be? You can be. We know.
Your employee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so that is one thing too that we had to really work through. And
because we were seeing things. We were carrying 20 years of baggage with us every day, and we had to try to leave that aside when we were working with each other. And every now and then we still get a little bit snippy sometimes, but it's gotten a lot better over the last 2 years. Yeah, I get, believe it or not, I have bad days. I had one, about 4 months ago.
Just the one?
Just the one. It was a half a day. And then a couple of weeks later, I had another half a day. But
take out
it adds up to one day, so it's okay.
Really 5 minutes.
But Brenda, one of the things that you made me think about is so yesterday I had a virtual coffee date with our mutual friend, Dawn.
Oh, yay.
It was awesome. And one of the things we were talking about was, with COVID, what I have found to be true in our relationship and in my life is, like, when you have a pattern of behavior, like he does this, then I do this, and and like every time he does this, then I do this, and it's like you do the same things, and then so you keep having the same problems, you keep having the same issues. But when something comes along and disrupts that cycle, then you can, whether it's someone else sees it, or you ask for help, or you whatever, when you disrupt that cycle, you step back from it, and you're like, oh, I don't have to do this just because he did this. And so then you can change your behavior. And it's the same thing. I think that's what COVID did. Like what you're describing with your relationships. As an educator for almost 20 years, one of the things that I saw, and I think you see it in every field, but there are people who just trudge through, right? And they show up every Monday, they're counting down till Friday, every August, they're counting down till Christmas. And every day is a bad day. Every day is the same. And I think that what COVID did for people who were willing to learn the lesson was it disrupted that cycle. It pulled you out of that every day. I show up. So now when you show up, hopefully we realize that it's a privilege to get to show up.
Yeah. And that was something that we were gonna, I was going to mention a little while ago was that your mindset about getting to go to work versus having to go to work is huge.
Ah, so good.
You talked about that last night.
Yes, I did.
About the podcast. Like that's our whole thing. It's once it becomes a have to, then sorry, two friends, we're out.
Yeah. Well, I
Stephanie,
love that.
listening.
And I think it's important to y'all, because James and Kristi, she says, I'm grumpy. And he says, well, I can't think of what James is, but Kristi.
Yes, I'm a manager.
Oh yeah, I'm a manager.
I'm a manager.
But being
Best watch out. I'm gonna manage you.
Who do you promise?
Being able, I think it's important to be able to, say, y'all, I'm grumpy or I'm in a bad mood because, when you recognize those things in yourself and you say them out loud, then I think that breaks down, where people can, you're more real, but where it allows the people you're working with to say, oh, thank God. Yeah, you are being a little grumpy, but okay, let's put that aside. Let's get to work,
Yeah. And everybody has those days. We just
Absolutely.
don't like to admit it. And it's, and I don't know why it's such a big deal to say, look, I'm just off today. I'm having a bad day. I'm just not right.
Mm-hmm.
But, somehow for some reason that's unacceptable in a work environment.
Not at James Pharaon Creative.
Not at James Pharaon Creative. That's right.
I will tell you what is unacceptable at James Pharaon Creative, though. And one thing that I am not down with is the people who just are grumpy all the time. Like I recently worked with someone who literally said in a staff meeting, I hate my life. And I was like, like, where do you go from there? Like,
right.
Like that kind of like, it took all the power out of all of my, everything that I would say, like, you like what, like, I don't even want to ask you how you are today.
Right.
That just sucks. Nobody likes that person that's like, how's life? Horrible.
Right. And I just want to say, like, you're choosing that, like choosing to be that. Like, why? I just think
that's an attitude problem. That's not
it really is. And I think that, that takes to me more effort to be that way than to just chill, dude. Uncross those arms and quit being that way. Just joking. I forgot you're relaxing. Okay. So I'm going to start to wrap this up. And I have
Hold on. You want me to show you?
No, leave your pants on. This is how he sits in meetings sometimes. Not with the weird duck lips. I'm not sure what you're doing with your mouth. Did you have?
Do you
have like an okra seed in there?
I'm tired of you. I'm done.
You're done. Okay.
This with your lips. That is awesome, ladies. He is all mine. Jealous.
But I'm just like, the crossing the arms thing does not offend me. It doesn't make me like, ooh, he's mad. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know.
But he also has a bad case of RBF.
Oh.
So when you pair the two and the tone, like when you that's a triple threat, man, because he's all like, what are we doing? And then when I say, why are you grumpy? He's like, why do you think I'm grumpy?
Okay, nothing makes me more grumpy than asking me why I'm grumpy.
You know what? They're all two of our listeners are like, what grown-up people say grumpy? Like,
hi, meet Kristi and James Pharaon of James Pharaon Creative. They say grumpy.
Yeah.
Maybe I should also explain that
I don't have my bear in here.
What are you saying?
Okay.
My little mascot is the little grumpy Care Bear.
Oh, that's
always
right.
has been.
Brenda has one too.
I do have one. I have the one. No, not the one, the grumpy. Okay, so Boss's Day. Let's have some fun to wrap this up. James, I'm going to give you 2 fictional characters from a movie or TV. Actually, I think these are all TV. And I want you to tell me which one you pick. And hopefully you know all the ones that
Which one I relate to the most?
Yes. Which boss are you going to pick? Okay, which one do you either relate to or you like? Okay, first 2 are Michael Scott of The Office or Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. Yes.
That you knew that one.
Yes, and I'm telling you what, Ron Swanson, oh, he is oddly hot to me. Like I love me some Ron Swanson. Okay, Tony
But you
Soprano.
do.
Can I do my
Ron
Ron Swanson impression?
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, please, please. You're the
Son,
boss.
they can see you.
That is really good. Oh wow, that is really good. That makes me happy. Okay, Tony Soprano from The Sopranos or
Never.
Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
I'd have to go with Mr. Burns. I don't know anything about Tony Soprano.
Okay,
I've never watched The Sopranos.
Leslie
have
Knope.
HBO, Brenda. We were
That's-
poor.
Yeah,
Well, that
Well,
was like years
I'm-
ago when I could afford it as well. I'm sorry.
yeah. So I'm gonna say
Les-
Mr. Burns because excellent.
Look, you're evil. And also the
Yes,
Come on.
Leslie Knope or Meredith Grey.
Ooh, I think Leslie Knope because I'm basically married to Leslie Knope.
but you're a little dark and twisty like Meredith. Or Mare,
She-
as her friends call her.
Mare. Yes, Mare. Okay, last two. Boss Hogg or JR.
Oh, definitely Boss Hogg.
Okay, sweet.
He's
Man,
got the sweet fashion sense.
And
he
the
just
collar?
does.
And he in the car, that's right.
And the car.
Hangs
yeah.
out with people that go "Keek, keek." No, wait, no, that was
Oh.
I can hold on.
No, that was
Take two. He hangs out with people that go "Keek, keek, keek, keek."
Does he? I
he
don't
does.
think that's how Roscoe
Yes, he-
goes.
Ross
That's Roscoe Pico.
Oh,
Roscoe
train.
Pico
Uh-huh.
train.
Oh my gosh. Or was that Cletus?
No, that was Roscoe.
Roscoe.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And the dog, what's the dog's name?
Flash.
Flash. Okay. If
I
you
haven't watched Dukes of Hazzard in probably like 7-8 years.
yes,
And it was an episode. I've been trying to get the family to watch, some Dukes of Hazzard on Amazon Prime. I can't get them to do it. That's what we should have watched tonight instead of that horrible Australian show.
I loved the Dukes of Hazzard was I had the lunchbox.
Yeah.
I did not have the Daisy Dukes, but I loved me some Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, if you could hire 4 brand new employees, alive or not, passed away, who would you hire and why?
Present company excluded.
Hire 4 employees.
Mhm,
Okay.
brand new.
Oh, I know.
I would hire my buddy Mark Berry.
Mhm.
I don't think I would hire Steve Jobs. He wants to be in charge. He would be a horrible employee.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. All right, so Mark.
He's a good leader. He would not be. He's not a good collaborator.
Okay.
Okay, so my buddy Mark, my buddy Matt, who is my other brother. Matt and I collaborate so well together. I actually really just love working with him.
That's awesome.
He's the reason that you have a thriving video business.
Yeah, and actually photography too. He taught me. He's the one that kind of got me interested in kind of pushed me a little bit on photography, to push myself and learn about the technical aspects of it. But he's the one that got me learning about speed lights and flash and stuff like that. And so I learned lots and lots and lots. There was a time when I used to say I learned everything I knew from Matt, but that's not quite true anymore. But like
That's
a good
awesome.
solid 60%.
And one more.
I think that was 2.
That's only 2.
Those
Oh,
2.
that's it. I thought he said Matt,
I would-
Mark.
Matt, Mark, Luke, John. 4, huh?
4.
Where'd you come up with 4?
Well, I guess I should have said 3. I was thinking if you replaced Kristi, and I know Casey helps you, and I'm sure the boy helps you too. So I thought, let me do 4, but I guess it's really 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get one more.
Okay, one more.
Because now you have to keep me. Sorry. Brenda said.
One more. Man, that is really tough. I don't know. If I had to choose one more, person to hire. I think I'd want to hire somebody. I mean, I always want to hire somebody. Like, and in the case of Mark and Matt, they would be people who are much better than I am. Because I mean, Mark is a much better graphic designer than I am. He's a much better teacher than I am. Matt
Kisser.
He's got the beard. I mean, the beards are sexy. Even though he looks like Sasquatch, he's never going to see this, so it doesn't matter.
He might. I mean, if he's hanging out with Stephanie and Martha, he might see it, right?
I think I'd probably want to hire my buddy Gary from high school, because he was and is such a positive person. He was such a positive influence on me when I was in high school and first couple of years of college. And I think that he would be a really good, if I couldn't have Kristi as our cheerleader, I think he would be a great cheerleader.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so there's 2 people.
Yeah. Were you and Gary cheerleaders together in high school?
We were in high school, yeah.
Awesome.
We're spirit leaders. We were
spirit leaders. That's correct. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
They didn't call us cheerleaders because we didn't dance, and we did.
Right. You were hyping up the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. I think we went into this last time.
We did. We did.
In the 4-hour episode.
Yes. Okay, so Gary, for a second, are you still in touch with Gary? Do you talk to Gary? Does Gary know how you feel?
Just recently got back in touch with Gary. I hadn't talked to Gary in about 13 or 14 years.
Oh, not quite that long, because how old is oldest kid?
His?
I
couldn't tell you.
Because but it's been quite a while.
It's been since Casey was real little.
Yeah. Gary literally went off the grid.
Yeah.
For reasons that we probably can't talk about on a podcast.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. But Gary, I'm glad you're back in touch with
So over the summer, I actually I've been trying to find him for years. You go on white pages and you pay. I paid $10 to look up.
Wow.
To look him up, and this phone number came up, so I texted it, and I said, "Hey, is this Gary's phone?" And I get this weird, and I said, I get this weird message back and said, I forget exactly what it said, but basically it's like, how do you know Gary? And I said, this is, this may or may not be his long lost brother, James. So, it went back and forth. Turns out it was his wife's cell phone. But through that, I found out that was his wife's cell phone. And so she gave me his phone number, and so we had a couple of phone conversations. I actually thought about calling him today. I'll probably call him tomorrow.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I was really. That's the reason I was bummed that Noble's trip to Washington was canceled, because I was gonna hopefully I was gonna get. They live up in Virginia, just outside Washington D.C.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I was gonna get to see them while I was up there, but who knows?
Now we'll just have to go.
Yes, but that's one of those things. I'm like, everything you just said about Gary, I hope that he knows that's how you feel, because
he does.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay,
I think all 3 of those guys know exactly how I feel about him. And okay, I thought of 2 more. Okay, so I would also hire.
That's 5.
That's 5 people. Yeah. See, I'm going the extra mile for you, Brenda.
Thank you, James. I love it. You're a great boss.
I would hire my college roommate Johnny, because he and I were like brothers, and we still, I still refer to him as Uncle Johnny to our kids.
Cute.
And we don't get together as much as we used to, but I mean, he's like my brother. I just love him. And then also another Johnny,
I was
Johnny Johnson. Who is my brother-in-law now.
It actually is Uncle Johnny, but the kids have to call him Uncle JJ because we already have an Uncle Johnny.
That's right. And so, and he is like my spirit animal. He is a better photographer than I am. He's more outdoorsy, like more adventurous. Basically, like he's everything I want to be when I grow up.
I love that.
So, like, we've gotten to go to Big Bend.
Yes.
Twice. Did we go?
Nice.
Yeah, twice. No, once we went once, and then the second time he couldn't go. But we've gone camping several times, and but it's just great. And I'm I think collaborating with him on a consistent basis would be amazing.
Oh, I love that. I love your employees that you picked, all men, but I
I don't have
digress.
quotas here. It doesn't matter to me.
In real life, he does have a very nice ratio of women to men. And like so
Yes.
his go-to photography assistant, he has two women.
Mm-hmm.
Well, three if you can't say so, and then his video guys are guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it shakes out.
Well,
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that would be really awesome if one day you guys, even if for a brief moment on a project, all collaborated and you had your dream team.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be cool. And who knows? It's out in the universe now. So I want to say this,
It happened.
and then I have one more question. I always, James, this is the third time we've sat down and talked this way. I love that you aspire to grow, that you I don't know the words. You see these people and you admire them and their talents and their gifts, and you want, because I think that you are the best and you are so talented, but you still see room to grow. You still see that, you can learn from others, because you're
yeah.
the boss, right? And when you think of a typical boss, you think of, "Oh, I know everything. I'm this, I'm that." But here you are recognizing these people in your life who you have relationship that's good, but that you see the potential to grow and to work with others and just collaborate. And I just love that about you, that you always see that room to grow, to improve, to I think you're the best. And I think that you know that you're talented, but you don't say, "Hey, I'm the best, I'm perfect." Like, I just love that part, because you know
Well, can I say something about you? One of the things that I love about James is it's important to me as an educator to be a lifelong learner, and he is that. Like you are just one of those people. When you want to know about something, you're like Brenda, and you'll go learn it. Like you're constantly learning things. You're not a book reader, but you're a big reader. And you're constantly learning things, but also, oh shoot, I forgot the other thing.
I'm dead
You
sexy.
lost the words. You're speechless. What is happening
Yeah,
on an exclusive Normal Bias podcast?
this is a very special one, but I love that you're always learning, and I love that. Oh, I love too that
You found a balance between so in your business, like there's always a new computer, there's always a new camera, there's always a new accessory, and you do a good job of managing our resources and stuff, and updating what needs to be updated, but you're not constantly counting on the next tool to make you better. You understand how everything, I don't even know how to explain.
Yeah, I mean,
this
it's
conversation so many times over the years, but you don't depend on a fancy camera, you depend on fancy skills. Does that
yeah,
make sense?
it's a tool. I mean, it's a you can. I whenever I start thinking about, oh, I mean, this camera has, 20 more megapixels or whatever. I really need that because I need to be able to print my stuff bigger. And I remember that 15 years ago, when digital cameras were brand new, people were taking pictures and putting them up on billboards using those little, 4 megapixel cameras, and they were working just fine. And Teddy Roosevelt, there's a great quote by Teddy Roosevelt, and he said, "Do what you can with what you have, wherever you are," and I love that. And you don't need the biggest and best and the newest. And yeah, it's great sometimes, but it's a tool. And like cameras, I mean, photographers are the worst about wanting newest gear and and all, but if you have a tool that you like to use and you're good with, and that until you start feeling the limitations of that tool, then use what you have. I mean, and yeah, and so I've kind of carried that into our business, and also going through Dave Ramsey taught me about that. Before we did Dave Ramsey, I mentioned that I did freelance work in Houston before we moved up here, and I did it all wrong. Took out a lot of credit card debt. It took us years to pay that off, and it was stupid stuff. It wasn't stuff that was smart business expenses. It was some software and some stuff like that, but it wasn't stuff that I needed to do my job. So I try to not buy something unless I can pay cash for it, or unless it's an absolute necessity for me to be able to go out and do this next job that I've got. For instance, and for instance, a couple of years ago, I was hired to do some interior footage of a house, and I needed a stabilizer for my camera. Well, I didn't have a good one, and so I went out and spent that money to go buy that so I could do that job. And I've still got that. I've still got the stabilizer. I used it today. That's what you brought me, and I use it all the time. But that's,
I brought it.
she brought it. Yeah, because I left home without it, and so she brought it out to Round Top to me.
But that was a good feeling. Like that to me, that was one of the best parts of my day, was that he called and he was kind of quiet, I guess because the client was there. He was like, "Hey, do you have the bandwidth to bring me some gear?" And I was like, "Why, yes, I do. My boss is out of the office today, so I do." And it was nice because, a year ago I would have been so stacked up with what I was doing with my clients, or
You might have even been grumpy about it.
I probably would have been grumpy about it if I had my day planned around meetings and stuff, and then he needed me to take an hour and a half out of my day to gather gear, deliver it, and come back, because he wasn't around the corner. But I felt like a Chick-fil-A employee. Like, it really was my pleasure to be able to go do that and then to come back, so I didn't have a super productive day.
But you helped me to have a super productive day.
Well, and I got done my have to, like I finished those headshots, and that was what I had to do today. The rest. So I was trying to explain that to a friend this morning over coffee, that I've changed 40X changed how I do my to-do list. I don't do a to-do list with everything I do every day, but I do set goals. Like, I do have things every day that I know that I have to do, whether it's business or personal or whatever, because there are sometimes like billing or bank, things like that. Those, I can't not do those. Or and then today I had a job for him that I had to do. So yeah, but it was good.
Yeah.
So
it was really reassuring to know that I could call her and she could bring that to me. She basically, she was like my lifeline. She saved me, because I didn't want to have to tell the client, I'm going to have to come back out here in a week because I didn't bring the right equipment. Because I had 2 other shoots after this one, so there wasn't an option for me to come, to drive 30 or 35 minutes back to town, grab the gear, come back out there. That wasn't an option. So I mean, it was nice. It was very reassuring. It was comforting to know that she had my back and that she could help me out in that way. Even though it was a small way, it wasn't like, I don't think it was a small way, because she brought me the gear that I needed, that I didn't have. But it seemed, I think to her, it seemed like a small way, but it was a big way to me. So
I love that. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that kind of goes back. Sorry, I have this one curl. And that kind of goes back to your earlier point about, like, when you have a boss that maybe you don't get along with or whatever, is that, it's just, it's an attitude. Like, they're like, you can look at your jobs that you're assigned or whatever and be like, oh, it's nothing, it's not important. But it is important if it helps the team to run. It is important, like I think that how we work with the people around us, a lot of it depends on our attitude. And so it depends on how you look at your tasks, the attitude that you have going into it.
And surrounding yourself with people with good attitudes goes a long way too. I mean, it's really infectious. Bad attitudes are really infectious.
Right. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to my bosses, my principal, my AP, and I think they're good leaders. I think I love that they're always, they are the AP and the principal. And again, in COVID, I realized, wow, the magnitude of the stress and pressure and all the things that they had to go through to keep all of us intact and all that. But I love a boss who gets their hands dirty, who will help the cafeteria, who will help, at duty, at whatever, wherever and however. And when they I said duty, dang it.
I'm sorry, 12-year-old boys up in here.
We're middle school.
I was trying not to react, and then I felt her look at me.
Yes.
How did you feel me look at you?
There's
middle school
right there.
Want their duty back. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that you're a great boss, both of you, Kristi. I think you guys work well together, and I wish you all like continued success. And James, I hope that, like I said, I hope that dream team of yours, who knows, that would be really cool to all collaborate.
Yeah. My goal in life, not in life, but my goal when I started this company was to be able to make enough money to where I could hire my buddy Matt away from Germania. I would love that.
That would be awesome.
He has like 14 kids to take care of, so we're gonna have to.
I was gonna say Germania's medical is way better.
That's true.
Than Medicare or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We basically have a first.
Oh my gosh, you have a song for Boss's Day. Let's hear it.
I do. And I do.
Is it a Bruce Springsteen song?
What do you think?
Oh, is it a song by the boss? Nice.
Yes.
What's your song?
It's Philadelphia.
Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
It's never mind. So my song, I love the music from The Greatest Showman. Do you know what song it is now? But when the first time that we saw it, the one that really touched me and that really resonated with me was Michelle Williams' song, Walking the Tightrope. Mm. And then, so I think we probably bought the soundtrack in the car as soon as the movie was over.
We did. Yeah.
That is what we did too.
Yeah. And that's how we roll sometimes. And the kids and I listen to it over and over and over and over again. But when you look at the lyrics of that, like what jumps out at me is it starts out with, some people long for a life that is simple and planned, tied with a ribbon. Some people won't sail the sea because they're safer on land, to follow what's written. But I'd follow you to the great unknown, off to a world we call our own. Then the chorus says, but it's all an adventure that comes with a breathtaking view, walking the tightrope. And I think about that. I think about all of the things we've been able to see because of what you do, literally see, and the skies that we've seen and the sunrises and the sunsets. But in mountains and valleys and all that will come in between, desert and ocean, you pulled me in, and together we're lost in a dream, always in motion. So I risk it all just to be with you, and I risk it all for this life we choose. And I feel like because we're middle-aged people, because we have a kid about to go to college, I don't know how the world will view the choices that we're making financially and stuff. But what I know is that I believe in you. I know that, we're 2 years later, we're still here. It's backwards on the screen, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No, I see it regular.
It's backwards on our screen.
Oh, yeah. So that's this was my word for 2018 was essential.
Beauty is pain.
No, that's on my back.
Oh, my
So
bad.
it's across my shoulder. But I, I like whenever I start thinking about that and I think about, is it smart, the risks that we're taking, that we have all of our eggs in this basket? What I think about is I have faith in God. I have faith that we're following our calling, but I also have faith in you and your talent and your abilities. Not like, I don't know why I said like. But anyway, so I'm all in.
That's awesome.
Here I am. Like this is
23-year-old Kristi probably would not have been.
23-year-old Kristi would have been like, you want to what? No, I'm going to have a job. I'm going to be a teacher for forever, and I'm going to have set retirement, and I'm going to go to work every day for 32 years.
Yeah. 23-year-old Kristi needed a lot more security and structure.
She needed a lot more control.
Yeah, control.
She needed a lot more trust in God. Maybe.
She did. Well, and
she had a plan. And I was that girl too a little bit. God had a plan. But we think our plan, our plan kind of outweighed his plan a little bit.
And the thing about 23-year-old Kristi too, like this is probably a whole different episode if we decide to have you back. 23-year-old Kristi had a lot more
I'm
faith.
coming back for the 300th episode.
Oh, this is the 200th?
Yeah.
But I had a lot more faith in my dad
special.
than I did in James. So if I needed something,
that makes sense.
My car made a funny noise, or I had a question about money or about stuff, I called my dad.
Yeah.
So and then so that was something that was one of the things that we had to work through.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, happy Bosses Day, James. I think
happy Bosses Day to you too, Brenda.
Thanks, James.
She'll actually celebrate in May with her boss, I'm sure.
Yes,
so,
I'm sure.
But educational bosses. But so this Bosses Day, James will actually be out doing what he loves. So
awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, boss.
Well, it's bedtime here. He did just look at my phone. It is almost 9. It's 1 minute till 9. So we're like an hour late for bed. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, you're going to lose me in 1 minute.
Oh my gosh, it's always so much fun. I just love you guys. Happy Bosses Day. Have a great weekend. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, love you big.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.
Hey, y'all. Are you still watching? Are you still listening? Oh, hey, Mom.
We're so glad that you're still with us. If you want to connect online, we're at www.normalbiaspodcast.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And our very favorite, if we made you a mixtape, we'd put all those songs on our Spotify playlist for you.
All the things.